Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Chandler, the Geek Slays. Welcome back to the Scuffed As Podcast, episode 31. Greg's finally back. He hasn't been here since the first episode.
How's everybody tonight?
He actually gets to record it without the completely broken setup we were in last time.
Right? This is nice.
Last time we had the weird table in that weird basement with a ton of echo with, I
Right.
forgot the thing to make my microphone have a stand.
That was about a year ago.
Close,
Over
yeah.
a year. Well, yeah, right about
Yeah,
a
we
year
recorded
ago.
it over a year, I think, because I think we went up a little earlier last time.
So, what's happened since then? Anything been in the news?
In that year,
The last year, yes.
I went from streaming on Twitch to now streaming on Mixer and then back to Twitch because Mixer shut down. That's a thing that happened.
Yeah, what was that? Bought out by some...
No, I don't know. During the whole COVID thing, I didn't want to bring that up, but during the whole COVID thing, Twitch saw like 200% viewership growth. YouTube live streaming saw like 150% viewership growth. Facebook gaming saw viewership growth. And then Mixer saw like 2% viewer growth. They just didn't grow as a platform.
Fuck is COVID?
We're not talking about that. Just no. I mean, you're wearing a shirt that you only have because of
I'm a
COVID.
hero
So,
for me.
yeah, healthcare hero. Sure.
I'm an essential.
I'm an essential worker too. I haven't had a fucking day off this whole time.
Right? So, why don't you... I don't know, what's your take on COVID?
What do you mean?
Because I interact with a lot of people, and I like talking to people, finding out everybody's ideas, and they're so varied and so,
That we should have taken it seriously when it first started, so we weren't in the position we are now.
Okay.
That's all it was. If we would have taken it seriously like New Zealand did, we'd have way less COVID cases. If we wouldn't have made everything about trying to deal with COVID political, been better.
Right, it has been politicized.
When it comes down to,
You think that's just because of the state
people are retarded? Yeah.
of the world, or is it because
No,
of
just
election
because-
year, or
Because people are retarded. That's how I view most of what's happened during this COVID thing, is just that people are retarded.
I mean, you talk to some people and they think it's, I don't know, it's polarized. It has been adopted. I mean, it seems like if you follow, I guess Democrats see it as way more dangerous. We need to take a lot more actions, close things down, not open schools. And then if you're Republican, it seems to have been co-opted that it's not as bad. We need to open up. It's just like the flu.
Or it's just fake. It doesn't exist. That's a thing I've heard. That one.
Right. So do you think
That
it's
one.
man-made? I've heard that too.
I don't know. I think it just...
There's so many different things.
I mean, but COVID... Well, yeah, the coronavirus. There's so many different strains of it, so I doubt the mutation. It just finally mutated to the point of affect humans. Which, when I say that, people get all judgy. Well, how often has that happened? Every day.
Well, from what I've heard, I watch this epidemiologist talk. I listened to one of his talks, and what they said is, he predicted something coming out of that region several years ago. And he said it was because of the wet, what do they call them? Wet markets. And they said, these places are insane. Bats, cages, top of chickens, weasels, just. And so what happens is you get, these bats have very hardy immune systems, a lot of different viruses, basically pooping on the chickens eat it, and it can pass that way, or somebody eat
Right.
and it could come out that way. But then you also hear that there was research, and I think there were some articles that came out prior to COVID at two labs. And it's kind of my understanding, all countries agree not to bioweapons, but what they also fear, if somebody comes up with a bioweapon, what would it be? How would we defend against it? Research into it, and a coronavirus is a likely candidate because of the nature of it. And they were messing around, trying to create a mutation that they could come up with a vaccine. Somehow it just got loose. We also heard people say that it was purposefully released because of.
Bill Gates could put microchips in you.
I've heard that one. I don't understand that one.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that one.
And something with 5G. That too.
Which I'm sorry. How retarded can you be?
I don't know.
It can't be 5G. Oh no, why? What's the Wi-Fi in your house? What does 5G stand for, Greg?
It's fifth generation.
No, actually, it's 5G is basically a 5 gigahertz now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's supposed to use.
What has your home Wi-Fi been? Forever. 5G.
Just recently.
It's been 5G for a long. 5G's been the standard for.
Well,
Wi-Fi 6 is just getting. But it's so like 5G is a lot easier to do over small spaces. Like you noticed, if you walk too far away from your house, your Wi-Fi signal disappears.
Right.
It's the same issue they have with 5G. Right. If you too far to the one end of your house, it's like, oh, the Wi-Fi got shit. Yeah, that's the problem they have with 5G. It's like they'll have to have so go through.
Right. So how does that?
It doesn't give you a disease, I can tell you that. I'm saying how
but
this.
Isn't that fascinating? Look, because those people are looking at some evidence.
Or somebody's just saying something. Somebody's just saying something. The evidence is the circumstantial evidence of, in October they started putting up 5G towers and then.
Right.
It's all circumstantial. Which a lot of people like to say there's no such thing as circumstance, but there is. A lot of times, evidence that's used is circumstantial.
Which is true. So I just like collecting all of them. I like talking to people, find out their stance. Are we taking it too serious? If we're not taking it serious
in
enough?
The U.S., we're not taking it serious enough. Not even trying.
Is it something that's going to... Well, so my understanding, too, is that it's already mutated.
Probably.
Which is a good thing. The virus is... its purpose is to reproduce. It's to make you cough, to where it can go and spread to something not meant to kill you, because then it dies.
Right.
So, this new mutation, having more cases of that, and I don't even know how the protein marker or something.
I don't know.
But they say the more cases of this newer one is more prevalent, which is good because good and bad. I mean, it's more contagious, but it's less deadly. So I think
right. If it mutates to a point where it's
right, because the common colds occur.
Yep.
The flu. And
yeah.
So I get kind of
biggest issue was still is like
vaccine.
Well, we need some sort of vaccine. It would. I don't know if there can be one. You can't vaccinate for the common cold.
Right. Well, see, it depends on how it mutates.
Right.
So the flu mutates fairly slowly, and we kind of guess.
Yeah.
And we're about behind here. Some years it works well. Some years it doesn't well. I'm thinking if it's already mutated, and this is just my speculation, somewhere between the flu and the common cold.
Yeah.
I heard there was an announcement yesterday, Friday, I never followed up.
So there was a CDC announcement that did happen. So there's been 180 reported coronavirus deaths, COVID deaths, I should say,
In the U.S.
and it's reported that only 6% of those deaths only caused by COVID. Others had comorbid.
Right.
People took that to mean that only 6% of those deaths actually happened because of COVID. Like, no. Obesity is a comorbid.
Right. Is that why it's in
Asthma.
America so hard?
Right.
Because we're the most obese.
Yeah, obesity,
Nation.
asthma, any sort of health issue that's already there. It's just like, technically, lung cancer doesn't kill you. Your lungs end up filling up with blood and you drown. So, should you classify a lung cancer death as drowning? No. You wouldn't have died like that if you didn't have lung cancer. Just like if I got COVID, I have asthma, I'm overweight. Having asthma and being overweight wouldn't have killed me today. COVID would.
Right.
Like, if that's, like, yes, there are other things, but COVID is the actual cause of. Now, if there are weird deaths where suicide, the person had counted that.
So, and you're right. I mean, it is unfortunate, too, that it's been politicized, because are they messing? Are people interpreting them? But I guess that's human nature. Find a tribe and you it's and opt a lot of it.
Always get into the human nature, but
we're fascinating. Aren't you just fascinated by this time? So crazy.
I hate this year.
It's gonna be.
I want to take a nap and wake up whenever.
Your grandkids are gonna be like, "Wow, you're
I'm
alive."
never having kids, grandkids either.
I mean, I tell people in group, it's like you're living.
Yeah, 2020 has been a wild year.
And we're supposed
The
to get
Australian
snow
fires, World War III almost happened.
Yeah, I heard what he was shot down.
Oh, so World War III might happen again.
What were you talking about?
Beginning of the year?
Oh,
Remember in January? Like trending everywhere because North Korea did something or we did something. But it was like World War III moments. Apparently close. Or that could just be people freaking.
So when people ask me, I try to go with the most asinine explanation. I think it's
Aliens were confirmed this year, though,
well,
too.
I told Heather that. It's like, let's just say aliens because they're keeping everybody.
Nobody actually.
Nobody's looking out upstairs.
It took. Okay. So, the NASA confirming when that happened. 2 weeks later, did a podcast where me and Wonder actually talked about it because nobody else did.
No, it was like
and Wonder had the explanation. Like, we all knew they were figured. So it was like, oh, cool. Like, telling you your name's Greg. Oh yeah. Like, there's no.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise, but it's like, but it's confirmed. That's fucking awesome.
Right, and it's kind of hasn't been hit in the mainstream, and it won't. I mean, there's a definite benefit them not. They derive a lot of their power from predicting it. Then they'll be like, well, what's the point?
But
yeah, think of all this stuff. I think the murder hornets were going on about that same time.
That's true. And then murder hornets disappeared. It was like
right.
But then they came back.
They did.
They came back in the news.
I don't remember.
Just like
and then
a couple
riots.
weeks ago. And then the riots, yeah. Weird year.
And then have you been following what's going on in China right now? The floods?
Oh, I haven't.
Okay, so what were you saying?
No, I'll let you finish before we get to this.
So they have the Three Gorges Dam. It's the largest dam on Earth. And when they filled the lake, it actually slowed the rotation of the Earth. They calculated. It's like 0. So it's very minute. They were people to actually figure out that it did slow the Earth. Well, they've been having these torrential monsoons and typhoons. They're hit by the typhoon today. This thing has like 10 or 11 floodgates. All of them are open. Barely keep. And if that were to break, I mean, there's Wuhan would be flooded. I mean, plus like 3 or 4 other cities the size of a lot of their crops, so all their food prices are probably going to go up. They say 15% of the world's manufacturing. The entire world is river. So,
But the thing I was gonna say was, did you see somebody actually did the math? At some point, would we switch from Gregorian to the Julius calendar or the other? What calendar are we on now?
I think
Shady calendar. Okay, so we switched from Julius to Gregorian. Yeah, I think that's right. Maybe. I don't know. That's not the point. When we switched, though, so like when everybody talked about the Mayan calendar in 12, they forgot to factor in us switching our calendars, which actually meant that the Mayan version of 12 is or 2020.
I've heard that too.
So it's like, that makes sense.
Right?
Very on brand for 2020.
But I think we talked about that last time in the podcast. About how, it actually means like unveil, revelation.
Well, it also
apocalypse is bringing in.
Yeah, but
new.
I don't think we did. But I do know that. I mean, it also is just Mayan calendar only really ends. Mayans disappeared.
Well, it's a cycle, and I think it would just start over.
Maybe, but what does it mean by start over?
Well,
remove all humans.
It's
start the growth process there.
My understanding is like based on the progression of like the constellations. Like we rotate, and there's different ages, and it takes about 25,000 years or whatever progression. And not only that, we're actually, if you look at the Milky Way, it looks like a frisbee with a big ball in the center.
Yeah.
We'll go from like the bottom to the top of the disc, and that's a cycle. It takes a long time, and we're at a point where we're right in the middle, where there's surprisingly few stuff there. I mean, there's not much matter. They call it the dark rift, kind of the center part. And they think there's some gravitational forces getting from mega black hole at the center of the galaxy. And it's an age, and we're in this rift for a while. It started, around 2000. We'll be in it for several years. Kind of the birth, leaving the age of Virgo into the age of Aquarius. Like the song, like and that's kind of marked by peace. So is there a cycle within a cycle where, are we living in the modern Sodom and Gomorrah where people reach a level of decadence and I don't know, advancement to where we revert back, like I think of it kind of like a pendulum, we're a tribe, but yet we're individual. Can we do everything our own without the tribe? No.
Yes, yes, I could.
No, yeah.
I totally could.
But do we need to rely on the tribe for everything? No.
You can only have it one way. You either have to do it yourself or rely on the tribe.
So we're constantly fighting over that middle ground. And right now, I think we're very individualistic. I need to get what I get, and fuck morals. But what? And it's not bad because we get cool things. I mean, look how far we've been. Years. But how much is enough? Are we degrading to the point where okay, we need to start swinging back and cooperating more with people, realizing, hey, that the health of the tribe, good thing, not just I should get what I want, no matter who I step on.
So okay, I'm totally kind of changing the topic here. You hear chimpanzees entered the
I have heard that.
they're starting to use tools and cook food, and
Yeah, that they were
so
watching these.
maybe the cycle is now it's just time for humans to die. Chimps turn.
Well,
Which fair. We fucked up.
well,
Let's let somebody shot.
but there's all these civilizations who've been before us. Like who built the pyramid? Built Gobla Tepe.
Well, the pyramids were built like 4,000 years ago. What do you mean?
Well, no, that they now think that the Egyptians, like the Sphinx,
Yet nobody.
they think of Pharaoh. They report like, yeah, we found this stuff, and he carved his face on it. It used to be the dog.
The Sphinx is. I read something on it where there's actual water erosion,
Yeah,
and it doesn't rain
no,
in Egypt
so
anymore. The erosion, though, is equal to it have spent. I can't talk. It's equal to spending like a couple thousand years in a rainforest.
Yeah,
Sahara hasn't been a rainforest.
long time.
I think it's 200,000 years. Sphinx might be the oldest thing on the planet.
Right. Well, have you heard of Gobla Tepe? That they found this
I don't think
pyramid.
so.
They thought it was just a hill in Turkey,
Oh, I think I heard a little bit about it.
and they dug it up. It's like this city that like predates, like way predates. But there's these genetic bottlenecking where we get knocked down to like 6,000, 10,000 humans on the whole planet.
Yeah.
And
Like super volcano,
Krakatoa.
maybe. Your Krakatoa erupted again this year? Oh, what's
no.
left? Krakatoa.
That just happened. Have you ever heard of global crustal displacement? So, the theory is, the whole Earth's crust is kind of floating on a molten core.
Yeah.
And it's powered by
Tectonic plate.
electromagnetic that causes the rotation of the Earth. Well, we're losing our we're losing a lot of our magnetic field.
Yeah.
We're kind of entering this pole shift. So the theory is that if during this time, if the center slows down enough, the entire crust could split. And that's where and stuff might not wind up in this. Where they think, Antarctica, they're finding fossils of tropical plants.
Well, okay, but I don't think that's. I mean, that's a cause for a sudden shift. But it's widely accepted. Oh, we don't know what's true, I guess, technically. Unprovable. But, every landmass on Earth used to be connected. Pangea.
Right?
So, the tectonic plates are always shifting. At
Right,
some
in
point,
itself.
everything is going to reconnect.
Right. Yeah, there was some, so the thought is that there's fissures and it's the new soil coming up, pushing old soil around. I think they're finding though that some of the deeper spots, that some of the oldest soil. So I'm not sure, and it's right, the plates are moving, but this is like all the plates
Right.
at once, because every culture has a flood story. Meaning, if you were holding a cookie sheet full of water and stopped real quick, what's What happened? All
Right.
that water.
But there's
All that water.
there's another thing though.
And there's 3 days of darkness. A lot of
But there's another way to describe the too. So, like the mammoth found frozen,
right.
still chewing on. A theory I heard that a large comet or asteroid or whatever hitting Earth tear through atmosphere, and a big enough, like it hitting the ground, creating a big enough blast would pull the atmosphere, drop temperatures insanely quick, and it would create, the land have just how everything freeze, how quickly everything would freeze, and then as those melt, that isn't water, they're on land. Glaciers would melt and break apart, all that water would flood out. So I don't think the entire Earth ever flooded. But if you were standing at your house was built on a hill, broke, everything around you is flooded. So the entire world.
Right.
So I don't think these stories are true in the sense of the entire Earth actually was underwater. I think it's just the certain people who made it through the floods at each particular place saw it and said, "Oh, because to them it is the entire Earth is everything I can see is underwater." It's an idea. I guess we'll never know what actually is what
I don't know,
happened.
Unless it's that'll be 2021.
Yeah, I was gonna say unless we invent time travel, but the thing is, if we would have invented time travel,
right?
So it never gets invented.
So
unless you always just go forward in time because it only gets worse from here, maybe.
So, but what if the Mayans and the Egyptians and some of these people knew that when we pass through this galactic rift, we're not getting bombarded by the particles needed to charge our electromagnetic sphere and the toroidal motion of our magnetic field slows down. The crust does shift, everything moves, and if you're on the dark side, like if the Earth stopped for 3 days,
we'd all instantly die.
Well, at least unless you're along the rims.
Even then,
the floods, unless you're deep underground. On the dark, if you're side away from the sun, it's going to get really, really cold. It's going to freeze. On the other side, it's going to get super hot. I guess.
See, but it wouldn't be the same way. Yes, it would get super cold, but it would get that way gradually. Mammoth wouldn't have froze. Still chewing.
Well, the atmosphere would slide too, but and what if they know this, and what if they tried to tell us this, that this is a cycle? What if humans evolved to a point within this cycle, to the point of Sodom and Gomorrah, where we advanced to the point where everything's gone amok?
See, but it depends, because there are thoughts that ancient Egyptian or whoever built the Sphinx had to be so far advanced with such specific tools, like some of the weird boxes that they have in pyramids that are not they're not caskets or whatever. They're actually, it's like, can't remember what they're made out of.
Oh, I've heard
the black boxes that are perfectly smooth. They're one solid piece of whatever rock this is. They're perfectly carved out with perfect 90-degree angles throughout.
And then they're like the size of couch.
Right, they're big.
So
they had to have had better tools. But my thing is, if we got that advanced and everything got reset. Why would it take so long to get back to that point? Like, we'd have the knowledge of how to get there.
Right.
Why does it take so long to get back there?
Okay.
Or is it only the idiots surviving?
Well, but think about it. So much of our information is built on other information. Like if you were to go, I love the quote, like if you were to get dropped off in the forest, how long would it take for you to send me an email? You'd first have to learn how to forge, how to mine. You'd have to have the birth of the electronics, the vacuum tube leading into the transistor, glass smelting. All that information. Nobody has it all.
No, but some people have. Everybody has some sort of information.
Well,
that you
maybe
can
the
build
elites know this, and that's the whole COVID.
Funny. So
They're hiding
don't
this
even
fact.
start. I don't even want to.
That's why.
But I think there has to have been some sort of that. But also, if you think about it, like if humans disappeared today, in 1,000 years, what's going to be? So all of our buildings in cities would crumble.
Mm-hmm.
Concrete, metal, it would all crumble. Stuff made purely out of stone.
Right, the pyramids are probably just...
Right. Humans will be... the pyramids will be here long after. Unless we destroy them. Which is possible. We suck. We suck. Real bad. Mount Rushmore will last longer than anything.
Right.
Like, Mount Rushmore is going to outlive Statue of Liberty. But, metal construction is better. It's really not. Nothing beats.
Right. But those boxes in the middle of the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
They say that you're right, that they're all for tombs. And I heard this once, they brought that point up with the Ark. Bible's very specific, I guess, and I've read it. Very specific on like gold lining, with a certain diameter of specific wood. On the inside's lined with copper, and it's sealed. And essentially, if you drug this thing around the desert, it's going to act like a giant capacitor. It build up a charge, like when you rub your feet.
Yeah.
And they were able to discharge it. And they were possibly able to run lights on. And they say that they think, they found things that shape, in different pyramids. And you would put it inside, it'd fit that box. You set that in the center of a pyramid. Is it taking some of the Earth's natural electromagnetic fields, going back again and recharging? I thought that was kind of...
But I just...
So many cool theories. Who knows?
So, like, around the pyramids, Sphinx, who knows what was... Like, there's no way they only built the pyramid Sphinx and all cool, stone stuff. There was other stuff there. Who's to say it wasn't a huge city, bigger than Cairo?
Oh, it's...
But it's just been, there was a time when nothing lived in Egypt. Who says the current Egypt?
Have you ever looked at, like, where the pyramids... It's hilarious because we always see the picture of the pyramids and it's kind of facing the one way. It's all desert.
If you look at it from the other way,
it's like right next to Cairo.
Yeah. It's
like
it's
in neighborhoods
Cairo.
around it.
Yeah. Which that'd be cool.
Right? You just look at the pyramid.
Every day you go, have your coffee and your cigarette, just stare at the pyramids. Or it'd be creepy. I don't
No, there's
got to be something creepy about it.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I think there's... What were they trying to say? What kind of...
I don't know.
If anything.
Right. There's always the possibility that, what kind of messages could they have been leaving us with? Who knows? Right?
Warning us of it.
Or just nothing. It could have been nothing.
Oh, you should look up sometime. It's called the Adam and Eve story, and it's a book that had classified CIA for a long time, and it just recently got declassified.
Which one was the last one?
Well, it's about the global crustal displacement.
Well, because Krakatoa. It'd be the
Could
last.
be. I don't know.
But it was the last catastrophe.
No, I guess I haven't.
I mean, Krakatoa would be a big one. What if it was the cause of all of, not like everything shifting, but of, like, 3 days darkness? What if it has always just been super volcano?
Yeah, could
I mean, we're
be Yellowstone.
I was gonna say, aren't we pretty we've been duped. That's technically, according to estimate, it roughly every 300,000 years erupt. Then it's been like 85 years since its last eruption. That's a idea.
Yeah, I think there's like there's a range it usually falls in.
No, we're towards the end of that range is the issue.
But just because it doesn't mean.
Also, did you hear at the beginning?
What? Well, I know that was hyped again.
Oh, it got super hyped. Well, it's because you ever watched a movie where Yellowstone erupts? Ever?
2012,
2012?
yeah.
So in every movie where Yellowstone, they always talk about in the movie unusual uplift at Norris Geyser Basin. And at the beginning of the year, Norris Geyser Basin got closed because of unusual uplift. Nothing we've ever seen before. And in my head, I just see like every movie I've ever watched that features Yellowstone. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I heard.
We need to move.
The one article I saw at the beginning of the year was like, Yellowstone's already had like 50 volcanoes or 50 earthquakes. Yet they
have earthquakes daily.
Yeah, and so hype in that. But that's the thing, nobody knows. I mean, everything's getting so hyped.
Well, and Yellowstone is also so unpredictable because of the way that the caldera breathes. That's what they call it. It doesn't actually. It expands and contracts constantly.
Right.
So when it expands, it is always oh shit.
Right.
Because it does that a lot, but it's also like this the time where it's just because that's all it is. It's, those expansions are possible eruption. Intriguing. I think it would be cool to see Yellowstone. We'd all die.
Right. Yeah. For like see it for like the
first couple minutes it'd be sick, and then we'd die. But it'd be sick to see.
So that's interesting.
It's not a terrible way to go out, I guess.
But that seems to be the theme. You talk to people. Catastrophe.
What's next?
Right, yeah.
Because that's all 2020 has been.
Right.
2020
so how do you rise
just
against
the
it?
theory
What do you do to help?
Day drinking.
So yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about, we live in augmented realities in a lot of ways, where, you click on something, it's registered and put into the algorithm, more and more like it. YouTube, same thing, advertising. How much is our phones, and it's almost commonplace now, where you're talking about something next day or so on Facebook, or it's some creepy ad about just talking about minutes ago.
The weirdest ones to me are the ones I just thinking of. Like I've done that. Been, thinking about how I should look at buying something. I'll get on my phone and see an ad for it.
Right?
That's not cool.
Well, I think they're
it's also kind of cool.
Well, that brings up the point where they know what we want.
Yeah.
I think their goal now
but I think
is
it's not
to
that
give
hard
us what we didn't know we want.
Right. I don't think it's that hard to figure out I mean, just because, like, even if, like, Facebook is always collecting your, even if they're not collecting it under a file that says Greg Crone, they're collecting a file that 35 to 50-year-old male at each certain specification, because that's a lot of the way to categorize stuff. It's not hard to figure out what people. And when all of your apps on your phone link up, like Facebook, Amazon sells data of what you. That's why if you go on Amazon and look at a specific thing, get on Facebook and see an Amazon ad for that thing. So it's not hard for, Facebook to figure out what you want to buy.
Selling data.
Right. So Amazon figures out what you have bought, and then, it sends that data to Facebook, and Facebook can then figure out, okay, well, if this person has bought, computer parts, cameras, microphones, they're doing something with film, so here's other stuff like that that you should get. It's like, it seems kind of creepy, but if you take a step back and don't look at it as such a, they're spying on me, you look at it as, well, they're just, because most of the time, it is not your personal, an overview of you as a person, kind of, like an age range, a gender, whatever.
But I think some of the issue is the divide. Well, like, you talk to people, I'll use my mom as a pretty staunch Republican, and she'll click on those articles. Who's that? That promotes that knowledge base, and then she'll come up with with something like, oh, well, did you hear about that? And as fact, and I'm like, whoa, where the hell did you hear that?
Here's why.
I never even heard of that.
So
she's not on Facebook.
I don't know where it was reported. I'm just using Facebook as an example. Facebook actually has categories that it logs people in. And one of the categories is people who believe in pseudoscience. So then they will target posts and ads of pseudoscience-y stuff at these people. So it just forces more bullshit into a person who easily believes the bullshit. It just sends them off into a realm of idiocy.
So would you be a conspiracy now? Pseudoscience?
Who, me?
Yeah. What would your label be? Or can we transcend?
Huh.
But that I don't think is helpful.
No.
Because we need people to work together.
We also need it needs to be less of a targeted, this is the type of it. It needs to be just if you Google something and, you aren't in a incognito tab or ant track, I just Google here. It bases the search results off of what I've looked at before. So you will always get something that kind of supports you.
Right.
Whereas if you go into it, if I Google Twitter right now, normal Chrome tab, and then an incognito tab, I'm going to get different results. Which is weird.
I don't know.
If you Google a question in two different tabs, it's different.
Our attention has become a commodity. And science behind grasping our attention, very good. I don't think people are quite aware. Maybe that should be something that everybody does. I have a point of view. I need to spend just as much time researching the other point of view. So my reality is being skewed or augmented much. You talk to people and they're like, well, I can't even see how anyone would follow that or anybody would believe that. It's like, well, we'll talk to them, because they've seen so much opposite information so long that they're at the point that they can't even comprehend that somebody would think different.
Well, I can't comprehend being anti-vax. We've literally gotten rid of polio as a thing, but I'm not going to give my kid the polio vaccine. Cool, I hope he gets polio. That's on you, you dumb whore. That's my view on it. But every bit of actual fact supports that. I'm sorry, the idea of I'd rather my kid die than have autism is dumb. Like, because that's always the argument. Vaccines give you autism. It's like, even if they do, you'd rather your kid died at autism. Really?
Well, what is the evidence that they're looking at?
I don't know. Because there isn't any. If you actually read the evidence, none of it's real.
Well, so there's because I researched it.
Sure.
By the time a kid is 2 years old today, he will have had as many shots, or you and I have had. They package, the vaccine itself, I think is pretty benign. The packaging for profit, these mass batches of multi-use, they have to use a lot of preservatives, and one of those was thimerosal. Thimerosal is primarily made of mercury. We know what mercury does to the brain.
Right.
Yeah. Contributes to all sorts of stuff. As these vaccines increases, and it's very profitable. If you get mandated that your product has to be consumed by everyone, oh man, there's benefit to that. And what these companies will do is they'll say, hey, we have this product that's crucial. We need to skip a lot of the human testing. We only want to go trial. Okay, we got to get this out there. They only do 6-month trial. You're not going to know problems of that. They get it out to the market. Everybody, gets it. And they've even lobbied to the point where you can't sue them. There is a tax-funded pool that all lawsuits for vaccine are drawn from. And you can't even sue them. It goes to an arbitrage. Like, it actually goes to, like, a magistrate, oversees the case in pools. And they have paid millions and millions and millions for causing autism and other things.
The question then becomes, though, the vaccine actually?
We don't know. We know what mercury does.
Right.
So if you're going to get a shot, get a single vial, the single dose. One of the most compelling arguments is that autism was almost non-existent in Africa. Very, very low rates. They went in there and they started vaccinating a lot of people. And they quickly reached about the causes.
But we also factor in SP. Different diseases that vaccines.
Right. No, I say they're good.
Could autism have been at the same levels if people were surviving? That's the thing. If we cut out vaccines right and let 80% of people die by something that's curable, if we just let that happen, then sure, autism level, same as the stupid ass. If we tested less for COVID, there'd be less cases. No, there's still just as many cases. You just don't know. That's the thing is.
But I've worked with parents who had autism, kids with autism, and I've met more than one who said my kid was reaching, every milestone, talking, smiling, walking, crying. Took him in for whatever vaccine. They spiked a fever that next day. They were sick for 3 days, and then it stopped. All of it stopped. They weren't looking at me. They weren't laughing. Those are hard to discount.
But that's all a personal thing, too.
Right.
Like, there's no evidence of how that kid was before. There's just the evidence of what the parents say.
Right, but we can't discount it.
Right, but we can't also take that as solid fact.
I'm on the fence. We do more of a.
My
kids are caught up.
I'm saying even if vaccines do cause autism, either your kid died of polio.
Well, I'd rather have autism, but that's kind of. I'd rather have not.
You'd choose neither.
My son wasn't even alive 12 hours. Here they come, and they're like, "Oh, it's time for his hepatitis B shot," and I'm like, "What? Hepatitis B? What? Isn't that from like unprotected sex and drug use?" And they're like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, "Well, shouldn't get that closer to the time when
When
he's
it
going to be having
matters.
unprotected sex, and
Doing drugs.
why does my son need an HP? Why does chicken pox? I remember we used to try to catch chicken pox.
Right.
So there.
Shit, I remember I had chicken pox.
They used to do the same thing with measles. We don't even recall that.
How well did it actually work, though?
I don't know. The risk of chicken pox is that you could get shingles and it's painful. Do we need to? So I'm on the fence on that. I agree. Vaccines have conquered and cured a lot of things, but I also believe that if it comes to profit over people, profit will win out all the time. And if they're going to find a way to cut profit by packaging these vaccines,
I'm still always going to go with. I'm not going to not give my.
I agree, but why can't we get it safe?
Sure, because welcome.
Right. So I think that's what most
actually
anti-vaxxers
here's what it is. Welcome to late stage capitalism.
Right.
Have you?
Right. So that's the most of the argument when I talk to people. It's too much all at once, and how do we know that it's packaging?
Right. But
which I think they have. I think they've got to wait for thimerosal.
You know how many arguments though I've seen. I wish they'd stop using so many chemicals in vaccines. A little bit of the disease in there, so you build an immune. That's what vaccines are, you dumbass.
And is it the foreign DNA too? Because they bind it to other human DNA.
Right. That could be.
So I heard that once too, that it's the body's kind of constant rejection of.
Right. It's just like the way your body rejects, like a kidney. Body can reject. Even if it's perfect for you, your body can still be like, that's not
right.
Get that out of here.
But how long do people know that smoking causes cancer?
How long, actually?
And they still.
It hasn't been.
They could come out and say that vaccines cause autism, undeniable proof, and they would still fight it.
No, even if there was undeniable proof, my biggest thing. Sorry, if it were me, I'd rather have autism than die of polio.
Right. But check out some of the cases.
No, I've heard a lot of different stuff, but it's also just.
It's called Vaccine Court. You can.
I've read a lot of
Vaccine
stuff.
Court. And you could look at all the cases that they've paid out.
I've read a lot of stuff. It's just.
So trust your government.
Always.
I mean, if they paid out, they got caught red-handed.
True. Well, that's another thing, though,
or is it just hush money?
Well, or is it just, like, I like to think of it as, what's the most valuable thing? You can take
time.
I was going to say, take all the money you want. Take anything I have. It can be, can't replace time. So maybe it's just a thing of, I really don't give a fuck enough. I'll just pay you off.
Yeah. Yeah, when you.
That's not hush money. That's a lot of my time.
Right.
That I don't care. Take this tiny fraction of money that I'll earn back in a week. Shut the hell up. I'm going over.
Right. And I do want to clarify for, I don't know, 5 viewers.
I don't know.
That I'm not anti-vax. I have my kids. We did, talk to your doctor and see, like, okay, we just want to take our time, do one at a time, get them a few months apart.
That's fair.
See,
that's fair.
Yeah, because they are important. They do.
Because I don't think you should get every vaccine in a day. That's a dumb idea.
No, because they had a case where
you could also
somebody
be
got killed.
Right. That. You could be allergic to a vaccine. And if you're getting one at a time, it's like, okay, he's allergic to what?
Yeah.
Because there's other stuff in things. It's like, oh, he's allergic to this. We know how to fix that.
Yeah, my daughter's allergic to the chickenpox one.
There you go. If you get, if I get 10 shots in a day, though, and have an allergic reaction, they have to figure out which of those 10 things I had a reaction to, which is a lot more difficult.
Right.
Whereas it's like, if I go in and get a polio vaccine, have an allergic reaction, it's like, oh, we know how to fix that.
But like all these issues, they're tough because there is logic from whatever perspective you're looking at.
I understand it. but I think it's dumb to decide. I'd rather risk my child's death
Right.
than, I get it. Autism's not a great thing. I'm not going to argue that. Death isn't either. And, if you and Heather were anti-vax, your kids would. I would have done.
Right.
We're going.
But
Because
But you're taking a simplistic. Both.
I'm taking a view of
everybody wants the same thing, and that's what's best for the kids.
Right.
What's best is it to get them vaccinated or to not get them vaccinated, and that's but we have the same goal.
Yes and no.
And it's not just in polio. Wow.
It's just the quickest one to my head.
Right.
A vaccine. It's not. It's just the easiest to come into my head for an example.
So
polio's gone now.
What are you going to do if they come out with the COVID?
Am I going to get it the first day? But that's because I'm not dumb. I'm going to give it time because we know the human trials won't have lasted. Should have. We know that. Like, am I going to get the COVID vaccine at some point? Of course.
You're anti-vax?
No. How is that anti-vax if I just told you I'm going to get the vaccine?
Right.
It's just I'm not going to be one of the first people to do it. I'd like to see what effects it actually has. Not in the sense of...
What if you don't see it for like 5 years?
Well, that's future me.
Just because of my job, I know I'm going to...
Right, right. Well, and the other thing is, you probably won't be one of the first to get it anyway.
Because we live in
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Well, that, but also, it's going to go to more high risk first. You're high risk because of your job, but you wouldn't be the first one to get it. It would be all the people in... I can't remember the place you work, all the patients would get it before you.
Probably.
Anyone who's actually high risk of death from it is getting it first.
So,
and then it'll move out to people, and that second wave would be where
so
I wouldn't get it until the third
wave
wave because I sit here.
Are they talking about it?
Yes.
Oh.
Give it a Google.
Because the one guy I listened to, he said, if you want a vaccine, I could get you one within like a week or two. That's not the issue. The issue is getting it to the point where it kills virus, because if it's not strong enough, it makes a more hardy virus. But if you get it too strong, it kills the host.
.edu site. I like that. How close are we to a safe, effective COVID-19 vaccine? Ruth Karen, Center for Immunization Research at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health.
August 11th?
Yeah. It's a little old, but whatever. Recently spoke with somebody on...
Didn't the Russians have a try? Or...
I know the Irish did at one point. They closed down all the pubs in Ireland. Again, it's like you said. There is vaccines, right? Like, there's hundreds, technically.
Wow.
So many people are working on it. But how safe are they? How, trials, blah, blah, blah. They're that the side effects from the vaccine are acceptable. See whether they develop. I don't know what that is. It just sounds scary.
Okay, so SARS-CoV-2, that's severe.
So what I'm picturing is SARS and COVID at the same time.
So it's severe acute respiratory syndrome. So it's not the COVID that kills you. The virus causes this respiratory reaction. It's actually your body's own immune trying to fight it. That's actually what kills you. Dude.
Really?
Not COVID. COVID causes SARS. It's kind of like HIV causes it. Acquired immunity.
Right. This The FDA recently issued guidelines to vaccine manufacturers, stating the vaccine needs to be at least 50% effective. Wow, America really setting that bar high.
Well, some years they don't get that in the
Flu vaccine, yeah. Probably not.
And I've heard people who have the flu virus are less likely to. Yeah, I wonder if
none of that's the information.
Can you do the time thing where it's like,
well,
BBC,
a BBC COVID vaccine. When will we have one? This was from September 4th, so that's 2 days ago. Why is it important? That's not okay. What sort of progress is being made? Trials of the Oxford vaccine show it can trigger an immune response. Deal has been signed with AstraZeneca.
Great.
Supply 100 million doses in
cash cow.
First human trial data back in May. Wow, that was cool. They hopped on that.
So, have you ever seen the end of Outbreak?
They indicated that the first 8 patients taking part in the U.S. study all produced antibodies that neutralize. I mean, those first 8 people they're sitting real pretty right now. They can go out without a mask.
Yeah, I got tested for eczema.
Group in China showed a vaccine was safe and led to protective. It is already being made available to the Chinese military.
Nice. So, yeah, it could
other completely new approaches to the vaccine development are in human trials. So basically, we're in human trials.
So do you think after the election, a lot of the
vaccine would normally take years, if not decades? Yeah, but we also have, what does the U.S. call it? Operation... Fuck. It's got a hilarious name. Operation something. Where we are just funneling trillions of dollars to develop a vaccine. But I can't remember what it's called. It's a hilarious name. It's Operation something. But it's a thing. We're funneling trillions into developing a vaccine. But most experts think a vaccine is likely to become widely available by mid-2020.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That would be a huge scientific feat, and there are no guarantees it'll work. Worse, coronavirus already circulate in beings, cause common cold symptoms, and we don't have vaccines for any of them.
Right.
Common cold doesn't kill as many people as COVID.
Eventually it's just going to take its course to settling.
But, I mean, we'll see. It has been a wild year.
Right? Like, I don't think anything's going to be... It'll go back. I think we'll go more normal.
What do you mean? What's going to change? What's going to not... I know a lot of things. What's going to go...
Well, I think, we're seeing people start to go out and about more. I think people are always going to start wearing gear again.
I think people just might start wearing masks. Just at the grocery store, at gas stations. I think that's going to become a more regular occurrence. Mostly because, I'm going to be honest here, most of y'all are fucking disgusting. How many people I've met that I don't know if they've ever washed their hands?
Right. So what about the people that think it's infringing on the rights?
They're retarded.
Because...
I'm sorry, you have no right to bitch if it's... I get it can't be government regulated, technically. Infringing your... But if I own the grocery store here in town and I say you're going to wear a mask, you choose not to, I have every right to kick the fuck out. Just like if you're not wearing a shirt, not wearing shoes, if stores have the right to kick you out for almost any reason. Because it's private businesses. And bitching about wearing a mask because violates your is dumb. Bitching about wearing a mask because it hurts to breathe is dumb. You're being a pussy. Let's go.
Well, yeah. Again, I
Like,
think
I've
some
met
of
people
it's
with
gotten,
COPD.
I think it's gotten politicized.
Yeah, that's all it is. Because the facts even show if you're wearing a mask, like, there have been people who, to prove that masks don't change anything, they're wearing a mask for an entire day. Your oxygen drops wearing a mask. Like, it feels a little harder to breathe. Sure. But grow up. Stop acting like a 4-year-old kid.
I mean, I don't like them,
I didn't say I like masks.
but there's days like I'll wear them 7
Yeah.
plus 8.
But
And-
I hate the, you know,
but I gladly do it.
you have to because of your job. And you do it in, I don't know if you would. I do it in stores, gas stations.
I don't
when
go
I'm
in the
around
store.
people. But, well,
I don't know.
but I do it because, again, the point of masks, you know, I hate the argument, well, if yours works, doesn't it? So, fine. My masks don't protect you from other people. Me wearing a mask doesn't protect me from.
Yeah, it protects you to spread it if you
Yeah,
don't.
it stops me from spreading it because COVID travels on water particles in your, like, the moisture in your breath. And masks stop those getting out. Which thing, really. But, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, like I know people who are like, you know, I'm all for masks. I'll wear them. I just should be mandated. Seatbelts, you know, and I use the argument, you know, start a campaign that allow drinking. I should know.
Right.
Who the hell's going to tell me? Yeah, it might risk.
Yeah, it might
I-
risk your life or your kid's life,
Yeah,
but that doesn't
or
matter.
other people around me, but you know, fuck it.
Right.
What's more important, my freedom
The-
or the right
Freedom's
to live?
only a good enough for so long. When whatever ish, I think you should have the freedom to do whatever you want, if it only in real ways. Like, not in real ways. I shouldn't say that. Emotional ways are never going to be a big concern. Like, what a person does, how that affects somebody else. But, you know, if you want to choose to get high all the goddamn time, technically, I think you should be allowed to do that. As long as you're not hurting anybody else. Now, you shouldn't be able to get high and go driving. If you have kids, you shouldn't be able to get high all the time. But me,
Right, like
I should be able to.
if you're at home by yourself, you don't wear a mask.
Right. But if you're out in public and your freedom is more important than, you know, anybody else in the world's health, that's dumb.
Well, but I get it. You know, it goes against. It is a loss of freedom, and people naturally want.
But we also live in
that.
America, the least free,
But
the least free country.
We've never had to cooperate. I mean, we've never had to put up with draconian measures for the good of the people. Never had to do that. Maybe sometimes in World War II, but we haven't seen it in a lifetime. Or really.
It's like, if you look at other countries, New Zealand hasn't had, well, they just had a couple. They hadn't had a COVID case.
Or did they shut down their borders and kind of stay?
No, they didn't shut down. They've required masks. They've required a bunch of stuff. Also, if you're coming into the country, you're put 2 weeks in a hotel. I don't know why it changed in Australia and first cases, because some security guard at one of the quarantine hotels fucking the people staying in the hotels.
I heard that.
And he passed it around. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's
But
I think yeah, so masks. Oh, I also heard there's like a fringe theory going around about
Yet.
something about like it's wearing the mask is a body ritual.
Well, remember
Just
when
hit
Kobe
so-
died? That was a too, right?
Why? I thought it was a hell.
Well, helicopter crash set up by the Illuminati. LeBron James passed Kobe Bryant in total points scored in a career the night. The Illuminati no longer needed Kobe. Shut the fuck. Holy shit. It's like, no. It was just a pilot deciding to go out when he had been told probably not a great idea. Like, you know, it's a terrible thing, but also there's nothing you could have said to Kobe that would have stopped him from getting on that helicopter. His entire life, I don't think he's been in a car since he was like 16. Because when he was a player, every day for practice, took a helicopter to practice. Because, you know, it gave him enough time he could stay home with his kids. School, he'd go to practice, get home, or they went to school and be able to go get them. Because, you know, it would have been like a 2.5 hour drive from his house to the Staples Center. A helicopter, it's like 13 minutes. So to him, it's another one of the time is the most valuable thing.
Right.
And I mean, it's kind of fair. If you had enough money to take a helicopter fucking everywhere, you would. Miss the traffic, miss all the bullshit. I don't know if I would now. Now I'm kind of afraid of helicopters, but that's fine.
Still safer driving.
Yeah, because less drunk assholes gonna be flying.
So true, so true.
Oh,
Well,
anything else you want to talk about today?
I don't know. We covered a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, we bounced around all sorts of places.
So it's been interesting.
So, see you again in another year.
Yeah, maybe. Talk about more
More weird.
weird. I love the weird.
Well, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Later.